Practicing gratitude seems like it should be something that is straightforward and simple, but many of us in recovery have been told to practice it. We're told to write down 3 things we're grateful for every day, and we kind of check that off like a task that we were supposed to do, and we move on without thinking much else about it. And then we wonder why we are still miserable a lot of the time. So practicing gratitude in a hasty way can lead to us still feeling really discontent. But if we really put a solid, mindful gratitude practice into play, we can build ourselves a happy, sober life beyond our wildest dreams. And I am Kate. I am the author of the Addiction and Alcoholism Recovery Skills for Women book series. These are being used in rehabs, clinics, peer recovery support groups, by therapists, etc. And I am going on 10 years sober. So I want to talk about four gratitude pitfalls that I have realized that a lot of people fall into when they're trying to practice their gratitude. And I think that a lot of times it comes from a genuine place of thinking you're practicing gratitude. I did my 3 gratitudes, and why am I not feeling better? So when practiced right, can rewire our brain and can turn the most pessimistic person into the most optimistic, and it can be a really incredible thing. So pitfall number 1 that I often see people falling into is it's called emotional bypassing. And it's where you think you're doing your gratitude practice, you're checking it off, you're writing down 3 things, friends, family, and health, and then you move on. Even you share them with a sponsor or somebody in your recovery group, and you move on and you don't think about much else about it, right? And then you continue to not think about when you're angry, upset, frustrated, fearful, and you fill fill those emotions in with other things like binging Netflix or driving too fast, whatever it is, things that kind of get that agitation out one way or another. And it's kind of this a metaphor for this, or something that this kind of reminds me of, is when people go to church because they think that going to church makes them a good person, but then they don't practice what is being preached at church to love their neighbor. So it's like you're checking that thing off, but you're not fully invested in it. So, and maybe you think you are, like I said, but the way to become fully invested is when you do your 3 gratitudes. A lot of people want to say friends, family, health, and call it a day, right? They checked it off. They think they're done. They don't need to think about gratitude anymore that day. But when we think about it this vaguely, we're not really reveling in the little beautiful things about our friends, family, and health. So maybe you have a really amazing friend who just makes you laugh no matter what and makes you feel better no matter what. That is a thing to be grateful for, and that is a thing to stop and revel in and really think, what would it be like if I didn't have that person in my life to help me feel those joyful moments? Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for that person. And to really just soak it in and let it hit you. So, and then on the flip side, so that's pitfall number 1. And then on the flip side, pitfall number 2 is poo-pooing those small gratitudes. Not thinking you need to be grateful for the sweatshirt you have so that you're not too cold when you go outside. What if you had no sweatshirts and you were living it like, just what if? And a story I like to share is that one time, I call it my microwave moment, where I fell on my knees in tears over my microwave because it could give me warm food in a matter of minutes. If I didn't have it, it would take 10 minutes for me to warm up that Hot Pocket in the oven. I don't eat those anymore, but they are good. It would take 10 minutes, and I fell on my knees in tears over it. And it was really, I was 6 months sober, and it was really a pivotal moment in my gratitude practice, something that I had been practicing, like when we practice piano, and you want to get good at piano. I don't know piano, but an example. And so don't poo-poo those small things to be grateful for, because then you're taking them for granted. So don't take anything in life for granted. Don't take anything in life for granted. And so that's another pitfall that I see people fall into. Another pitfall number 3, is looking at it like it's a one-time fix. I'm going to say, here's the undo button. It is not a one-time fix. And so this relates to something else I see as a pitfall that's not related to gratitude, is that people will say go to 90 meetings in 90 days, which makes it sound like you will miraculously be all better after 90 days. So people think about that like with their gratitude practices. They're practicing their gratitude. They're doing it the way that I described with pitfall number 1, where they're just treating it like something they have to check off a box. They're on their pink cloud in the beginning of their sobriety, but they haven't turned it into a practice where they are looking at the small things and really reveling in their gratitude for the small things, like I talked about in number 2, pitfall number 2. And then they get to a point where they think like, okay, I have done 90 and 90. I don't need to do my gratitude list anymore. I should be good to go. I should be all set. And then they wonder why they start to feel more and more miserable as those pink clouds start to part, and they haven't been practicing on a daily basis throughout the day their gratitude. And then pitfall number 4 is not pairing gratitude with action. And the example that just came to mind right now that I had not thought about saying until now in this video is that in that moment where I felt my knees in tears over my microwave, I have been very inspired to volunteer at soup kitchens or volunteer or send money to the needy, people who don't have food. I have been very inspired to try to do something like that. I have not had a lot of time or money, but to do that, but that is something, that is action that I can pair that with to really even solidify that moment of gratitude, but then also expand into being of service to others, which is also a very critical a critical part of just being a human, really, is to be of service to others and to help others. And it's a give and take kind of situation. Help others, you can be helped. And so that would be a really great way that I could pair that moment of gratitude with some action. And I've been wanting to take my children to volunteer to soup kitchen. As soon as they're old enough, I will do that. That's something that's on my brain that I can work toward to help solidify it. Yes, so that is number 4. So let's see. I am about to now film a video on the right way to use gratitude on bad days, because, day to day, most days aren't bad, right? Most days we're not suffering from the loss of a loved one, unless it just happened and we're in the grieving period, or most days we didn't just get into a horrible car accident. So most days are okay enough where we can be using our gratitude practice to get us through and help build a happy, sober life. And if you haven't gotten to the point where you really have a solid foundation of gratitude that has made you a rock that can handle bad things that will happen to us, I'm going to film a video on how we can use gratitude to get through those bad days also. And it will be somewhere on the screen here.